Once upon a time, in a time before there was time, in a place before there was place, there was nothing. And in this nothing was everything, for everything is nothing, and nothing is everything. This nothing was all there is, but in all there is there was intent. Through intent was beginning. Beginning became, and from it a split with nothingness. This split created and separated light from dark, energy from matter, time from space. And so a universe was born, and in it our world. In time, many things took on this pattern of duality: hot and cold, night and day, summer and winter, life and death, male and female. These patterns formed an important basis of our thinking and behaving. They were the recognizable cycles of nature. In tuning into these cycles, humans formed many of their traditions, or so the story goes. This, one of many such creation stories, contains the principal ideas of the Western mystery tradition. It is the tradition of the Western way augmented by time and trade, and seen through the lens of the modern world, that this series focuses on. Join us as we study the various paths and their waysides, for this series is a journey of discovery of the outer realms and the inner soul, the true magical tradition, for it explores methods by which we try to understand that universe that lies within us as well as the one without. We have entered a new era in which creation stories are no longer told as representations of the union and will of the gods. We now study our origins as best we can through the techniques of science, but the story told here, incomplete as it is, contains the same poetry. Science tells us that nothing suddenly banged, and through it a universe was born. The details are still being worked out. This new myth, in a sense, is a new paradigm through which we view and consider everything. The latest theory is that nothingness was a soup of bubbling potential at the subatomic level, which burst into 11 dimensions of reality, because 11 dimensions were needed to create and glue subatomic particles together. But only 4 of those dimensions, 3 of space and 1 of time, expanded outwards, because those were the only dimensions that would hold a universe, at least ours. It still basically comes down to matter and energy, matter being a solidified form of energy, and all things vibrate. Some vibrations are high enough to be light, others are vibrations low enough to be rock.
Everything is energy. There. I've said everything you need to know about crystals and healing. Everything is energy. And since everything is energy, we use energetic tools to assist in the healing of this energetic body. Crystals and stones all have a certain energetic vibration that, when matched with the body, will aid in the reconstruction of cells and allow the body the freedom to heal itself. Before we had pills and injections and other medical technology, humankind used various sources of nature with which to heal. There were herbs, oil, stones, and gifted healers would use these valuable gifts to assist others in healing. With the advent of modern medicine, we forgot about nature's valuable assortment of cures and went about healing people with more invasive means. Certainly there have been many wonderful discoveries to aid us, and I would never advocate not going to a doctor if the situation arises. However, true healing does not happen by taking away symptoms. It occurs when we get to the source of the malady. Now this happens on a number of different levels: the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, and finally the physical. By the time we feel a physical symptom, we have already been affected in all the other levels. Now the quartz crystal is an electromagnetic tool which is used in many of the electronics that we have today, watches and computers. Marcel Vogel, who was an engineer at IBM back in the 1950s, left the company to experiment solely with crystals and discovered that quartz has the closest vibration to that of the human body, which is why it works so well in physical healing. Other stones aid in going to the source of feelings and emotions and spiritual longings in order to bring awareness to the individual about what they need in order to help heal their life. Now, there are several guidelines for using stones and crystals for healing. Number one, you can do a layout using the corresponding colors of stones on each chakra. The root chakra is black and red. The second chakra is red and orange. The third chakra is yellow or gold. The heart chakra is green or pink. The throat is light blue. The sixth chakra, or third eye, is dark blue or violet. And then the crown chakra is clear or purple. The second guideline is that soft stones, such as malachite, draw out negativity, while hard stones, such as obsidian, penetrate the body to break up blockages. Stones with terminations, or points, direct the energy through that point. Smooth stones radiate outward and into the body. Striated stones have very fast energy. They have lines which move up and down, and the energy moves in those directions. Holding stones in the hands allows the energy to flow throughout the entire nervous system because all the nerve endings in your body are in your palm chakras. By knowing these guidelines, you can begin to do stone and crystal healing work right now. The wonderful thing about doing energy work with stones is that everyone can do it. All you need are the stones, a loving, intentional heart, and the willingness to expand your belief system. In this world of quick fixes and fast food impatience, I find it to be very important to look at what we left behind. We are now remembering that there are very valuable assets in our world to support us in our efforts to truly heal. One of my great teachers stated that the shortest and most important definition of healing is feeling. True healing is accomplished by going inside of ourselves, relearning how to feel in order to get in touch with our essence and living the lives we truly wish to live. Crystals and stones are a non-invasive and effective way to lead a person into their healing. I invite you to give it a try.
All matter was created by energy in other bangs of dying stars. You and I, and Earth itself, are all made up of atoms cooked together in exploding stars. We are all star stuff. Our paths are the paths chosen by the stars themselves. And when these stars and planets influence us through their own vibrations touching ours, we call this astrology.
Today we're going to talk about arcane, mystical, scientific, but sometimes I'd want to say misunderstood subject, astrology. Now many people read their horoscopes or astrological forecasts in newspapers, magazines, or on the internet, looking for some insight as to what the future may bring them. "Hey baby, what's your sign?" was a popular pickup line for many, many years. Most people have the idea that astrology pertains to just their sun sign, but this is a misconception since the sun sign only provides a general picture of what a person could expect. A natal chart, which is drawn up for an individual based on their date, time, and place of birth, provides more complete, specific information in terms of a person's innate nature help and direction from a competent, I'm going to stress competent, astrologer can be invaluable, not because the astrologer is an oracle, but because they can help you understand the energies influencing your life and show you how to focus your talents and abilities in the right direction at the right time. What exactly is astrology? Well, the word astrology is derived from two Greek words, astra, meaning star, and logos, meaning logic or reason. It implies a doctrine or law as shown by the planets. An astrologer is a specialist in time. Astrology is the synchronicity of astronomical time with biological time. And if we really think about it, there is no area of life that is not ruled by time. You live by it. And time is also the key to your success or your failure in life. It shows that the world is conducted according to a plan, a well-defined plan, and that nothing happens by chance. Through the use of astrology, we can realize our purpose in life and how to understand the energies which have shaped our life, which are manifesting in our lives right now, and which are upcoming, whether for good or whether for bad, and how to best deal with these energies which manifest in our life. We can refine our actions to deal with planetary influences. Astrology has its own language, and it uses a series of symbols to create a bridge of identification between an individual and the universe. And as such, it is the geometry of life. As primitive man sharpened his powers of observation and learned to organize his ideas, he discovered a relationship and a correlation between planetary movements and human behavior and events. This discovery led to the development of the astrological craft. The correlations were organized into a systematic body of knowledge. Astrological tables have been found from as long ago as 11,000 years, and this shows how long man has been observing and recording planetary movements and using them to forecast future events. Solar cycles were useful for measuring time during the day, the seasons of the year, and for planning festivals. Moon or lunar cycles were measured for planting, breeding, predicting the tides, as well as for religious observances. A modern example of the use of solar and lunar cycles to determine the time of a religious event would be Easter. Easter is celebrated on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. Astrology is also the parent of astronomy, and for centuries astrologers and astronomers were one and the same. It is only in the last 300 to 400 years that astronomy has split off and become a science unto itself. Astrology has often been challenged and criticized, but never quite disproved. There have been many who have set out to disprove astrology using scientific methods who have become supporters and believers of this very ancient craft.
So then, what is the Western mystery tradition? It is that which comes to us from the ancient cultures of the Mediterranean and Northern Europe, strongly influenced by the civilizations of Egypt and Mesopotamia, but in our modern world also contains influences of Far East Asia, internal Africa, the Americas, and the Pacific Islands, in short, the world, but the strongest background comes from the mixture of the classical Roman world. People knew before science told them that they were star stuff, children of the gods, in their eyes. And they stayed in touch with those outer realms by satisfying the inner needs of the universe they discovered inside themselves. They did this by identifying with the seasons and the changes of nature in ritual and dance. This was a periodic tune-up to keep one's vibrations in harmony with the sky up there.
The time of the fall equinox marks a significant turning point in which day and night are equal in length. Equinox means equal night in Latin, and after this day the nights begin to get longer as darkness descends upon the year. It's also the time to celebrate the season's harvest, as the farmers' markets are filled with their bounty of fruits and vegetables. It is a time of great abundance, but also of sacrifice, as the spirit of the grain, symbolized by the Corn King, or John Barleycorn, is cut down and laid to rest in the arms of the goddess to be reborn again in spring. One of the oldest forms of magical worship are the circle dances, designed to emit and draw in power over places that contain strong earth currents, such as ley lines and certain hills. These rituals were the reenactment of events meant to influence outcomes, otherwise known as sympathetic magic. Circle dances have been performed since ancient times to energize power spots through the use of circles, spirals, and labyrinths. That these dances take the form of the circle is the oldest dance of the universe, the dance of the atoms around the nucleus in the microcosm, and the dance of the planets around the sun in the macrocosm. One of the oldest forms of circle dances that were performed around the time of the harvest and fall equinox was the Abbots Bromley horn dance. It gets its name from a small church in England where reindeer antlers dating back to the year 1065 have been kept on the altar. The dance reenacts the deer shedding velvet from their antlers and their connection to the leaves falling from the trees in the autumn. The horn dance became more traditional during the time of Henry VIII, when it took on the characteristics of a Renaissance pageant. The main players in the dance include Robin Hood or the God figure. He was probably modeled after Cernunnos, the Celtic horn god derived from the Germanic Hernie Pan spirit of the hunt. There is also a Maid Marian or goddess figure, a fool, who forms the beginning and ending of the dance, much like in the tarot, a hobby horse, and 8 reindeer. The horse would be one of the animals the shaman priest would shape-shift into for performing magical hunting rituals. The appearance of a man dressed as a horse seems to be connected with the end of the old year and the beginning of the new. These dances largely belong to the winter season, when animals are killed and revived, or horses are shod and thus renewed. The drawings on the caves of Lascaux were also used in hunting magic, and there is also a bird-like figure that probably represented the shaman or priest. The Abbots Bromley horn dance thus has the trappings of an old hunting cultural ritual, along with the spiral maze dances created to draw in power from magical places. The dance starts as a circle, perhaps the gathering of a coven, and then forms 2 opposing lines as the deer come together, butt their antlers, pass by each other, and then return to confront again. The circle reforms with the fool at the end of the line in order to start another new circle where the fool is once again at the beginning of the line. If you've ever walked a labyrinth or a spiral, there's a certain point at the center where you don't know if you're at the ending or the beginning, implying that the alpha and the omega are one and the same. I hope that you will reap the harvest and bounty of what you have planted in the growing season.
Those who practiced these magical traditions discovered that the subconscious, which contained much magical power, was quickly and easily accessed by strong, symbolic, visual images. The Egyptians created a book of pictures that told the story of the human soul's ever-spiraling journey for those students of the priesthood. This book developed into what became known as the Major Arcana, and married to yet another picture book of influences called the Lesser Arcana, was taught in a series of cards, or cartouches. When a group of immigrants from India landed in Egypt, they developed a high sense of magical practices. When they again emigrated into Middle and Eastern Europe, during medieval times, they took these cartouches, now known as the tarot deck, with them for divination purposes and for financial gain. The Europeans called these people, disparagingly, gypsies, for their Egyptian connection. During the 19th century revival of mysticism in Europe that brought about such organizations as the Golden Dawn and the Theosophical Society, tarot was once again studied as a magical training method. Paul Foster Case in particular reapplied the Major Arcana to the journey of the soul. It is his readaptation, visualized by Pamela Coleman Smith, called the Rider Deck, after its original publisher, that most new decks since have been based on. Zero is the beginning and ending of everything. It is the all and the nothing. It is the infinite. It is unity, the one reality before beginnings, that which is beyond the limitations of our logic, the life force that pervades the universe. Key 0 is on the surface a heedless, star-gazing youth about to fall into an abyss. It shows the folly of having one's head in the clouds without one's feet on the ground. A person so engrossed in dreams and ideals, he is unaware of the present situation. On a deeper level, it means the higher self, the whole of you, including that which is beyond the physical body, the one who begins a new life and new adventure. The fool is one step from doom, but also has a step left in which to stop or back up. He is at the edge or cusp. Inspiration is often at the edge, and it is not unusual for genius to be regarded as foolish by others in the beginning. It is a message from the infinite for the finite. On your adventure, do you touch the infinite or stumble into the abyss? And so the stars, matter and energy, influence our lives, and pictures can be found in the sky above us.